All right, so we are now talking about patent. It is granted by the government that gives the inventor or holder exclusive right over a specified period of time to use, manufacture, and sell a product or process without interference or infringement by others. So protection to ng invention. Okay? And meron dalawang principal types. Sabi dito, meron tayong product patent or process patent. Ano ang kanyang legal life? 20 years. Okay. So, the cost of the patent, just like most of our intangible assets, includes purchase price and directly attributable cost. Okay? Kapag purchase, yan ang kanyang capitalizable cost. Pero kapag internally generated, yung pwede mo lang i-capitalize ay legal and registration cost. Lahat na ng ibang cost, kapag internally generated patent, that is expense. Only the legal and registration cost. Okay? The requirement for the registration for patents are normally strict. Sabi niya dito, no? So, only registration, in-explain niya ulit, are capitalized. Again, subsequent costs are expense. Paano kapag may kaso, no? Kinasuhan yung ating patent, no? Na may nauna ng product diyan sa pinapatent mo na product na yan, no? So whether or not successful or unsuccessful yung ating defense, we would always expense our litigation cost. So yung mga legal expense natin, expense lagi. It will never be capitalized. Expense immediately. Okay? Whether successful or not. Pero kung hindi successful, on top of the legal expense, our patent will be impaired at kailangan natin mag-recognize ng impairment loss. Again, this would only happen if the defense is unsuccessful. How would we amortize our patent? Again, my legal life na 20 years. So we need to decide its amortization based on the shorter of its useful life and legal life. Okay. Kung meron tayong bagong patent na in-acquire, tapos na-extend yung life ng ating patent, i-amortize natin both yung new patent at yung carrying amount over the extended period. Pero kung in-acquire natin ay competitive patent, ang mangyayari, i-amortize natin siya based on the remaining life of the old patent. Okay, so illustration 1, purchased patent. So requirement, record the journal entries for the transactions above. So first, on January 1, 20X1, ABC Company purchased a patent from XYZ for 100,000. XYZ has held this patent for 5 years. ABC estimates that the patent has a remaining useful life of 8 years. So, ang entry natin dyan, debit, patent, credit, cash for 100,000. Right? And every year, 1231X1, tapos 1231X2, we will do the same entry of amortization. So, lagyan na lang natin dito sa gilid yung date na dalawang beses mo ito gagawin, no? Times 2. Debit amortization expense and credit accumulated amortization. So, 100,000, 20 years versus 8 years, which is shorter? 8 years. So, we will use 8 years. So, 100,000 divided by 8. Actually, hindi na 20 kasi nga we have used for 5 years to 15 years. But still, shorter yung ating 8 years. So, 100,000 divided by 8 years would be 12,500. 12,500. Okay? On 1/1/2023, in order to protect the old patent, ABC Company purchased a competitive patent from Alpha Corp for 45,000. We have a remaining legal life and useful life of 20 years. So, take note, no, na hindi to bagong client or bagong patent, I should say. Ang ating binili ay competitive patent. Pag competitive patent, we amortize it based on the remaining useful life of the old patent. That's the rule. Okay, so debit the new, not exactly new, but the competitive patent, 45,000. And then at the end of the year, debit amortization expense, credit accumulated amortization. Una, yung old asset natin para hindi magulo, copy-paste muna. And then we do the same, this time for the patent and cash of 45,000. No? So another entry here, debit amortization expense, credit accumulated amortization. We have bought it for 45,000, 12/31/23. Okay? So 2 years have passed, right? Again, pag competitive patent, we base it on the remaining legal life. 20x1 tapos na, 20x2 tapos na. Edi, 6 years remaining. So 45,000 divided by 6. That would be 7,500. And 1/1/2024, meron tayong unsuccessful defense. Again, whether successful man or unsuccessful, yung 20,000 na yan, ang gagawin natin, debit, legal expense, credit, cash. 20,000. Okay? And on 1/1/2024, once again, aalisin na natin ngayon yung ating patent kasi natalo tayo. So wala na yung ating patent. We eliminate the accumulated amortization of the old patent, the accumulated amortization of the competitive patent, compe, ayan, the patent account of the old, and our patent account for the competitive. Ayan. So yun na, magkakagrupo, patent, ito yun. Tapos, yung kanyang amortization, ito. At ito. Samantalang yung isa, yung ating competitive patent, that would be this one. And then one accumulated amortization. Yeah. Okay, para mas makita nyo kung asan natin kinukuha. So yung patent old, credit, kasi mawawala na ngayon, 100,000. Patent competitive, credit, 45,000. Okay yan ha, okay. 45,000. Next, the accumulated amortization of the old, 12,500, 12,500. Dalawang 12,500, isa pa, kasi 20x1, 20x2. So, 3 years. 12,500, 12,500, 12,500. So, that would be how much? 37,500. And for the accumulated amortization for the competitive, isa lang, naka-debit yan, no? That's the opposite side of the accumulated amortization because we are eliminating both the cost and the accumulated amortization account, 7 ba? So, anong carrying amount nila pag pinag-combine? Yung butal dyan would be our impairment loss. Very important question. The impairment loss would be 100,000. Okay? So una, meron tayong old na patent, inamortize natin ng 2 taon, tapos nag-acquire tayo ng competitive patent, yung old patent natin, isa na namang taon, bali 3 amortization na. Kaya naging 12,500, 12,500, 12,500, 37,500. Samantalang yung ating competitive patent, dinivide lang natin ng 6 years. Because 2 years have passed. Diba? 8 years, original useful life of the old patent, 2 years have passed. So 6 years. yung ating denominator. Next question. Kung internally generated patent naman, no? What would be our journal entries? Total cost incurred during the year amounted to 100,000. So that would be debit R&D expense and credit cash for 100,000. Ayan. Started pa lang kasi, no? Remember, kapag internally generated, anong pwede na i-capitalize? Yun lang, legal and registration. Diba? Pag binili, ano i-capitalize? That would be yung ating acquisition cost and directly attributable cost. Pero ito, internally generated. Kaya ngayon lang tayo magka-capitalize. Patent, cash. 60,000. And then, year after year, 1231 X2. Amortization, expense, accumulated amortization. Isa pa, no? Kasi ang mangyayari na next 20x4. So 1231 x3. Amortization, expense, credit, accumulated amortization. Anong amount? Ang legal life natin, 20 years. Ang kanyang useful life, 25 years. So we will use 20. So 60,000 divided by 20 years. So our amortization per year would be 3,000. In 20x4, ABC company started to develop a new improved patent. Hindi yan patient ha, patent. Ayan. To extend the life of the old patent. Okay, so may new patent tayo. Sabi natin, we just add on the development cost of 200,000. Okay. Akaso started to develop nga lang pala, no? So hindi pa tayo nagkaroon ng technological feasibility. Kaya, expense yan. Debit, R&D expense, credit cash, 200,000. This is 1120x4. Tapos 1231x4, same amount. Debit amortization expense, credit accumulated amortization of 3,000. On January 1, 20x5, finally, na-complete na, no? Yung ating legal and registration cost of the new patent, 30,000. Tapos yung new patent, ito yung kaiba niya kanina, competitive, no? Extend the life of the old patent by another 20 years, starting January 1, 20x5. So pwede na natin, on 1/1/20x5, debit patent, credit cash. 80,000. Okay. So ang tanong ngayon, gaano natin siya i-expense, no, yung ating amortization. So isa-isahin natin. Una, meron tayong cost dun sa ating old patent na 60,000. Pangalawa, meron na tayong accumulated amortization. Ilang taon? 3,000 per year times isa, dalawa, tatlo. 3 years. So that would be 9,000. Okay? And then we acquired a new patent of 80,000. So overall, our carrying amount on 1/1/20x4 would be 60 minus 9 plus 80,000. That would be 131,000. We divide it by the extended life. Sabi niya, by another 20 years, starting January 1, 20x5. So binigay na niya diretso, 20. So 20 years. Our amortization expense would now be 6,550. revised amortization expense. Kaya naman, 1231 X5, debit amortization expense, credit accumulated amortization. 6,550. On January 120 X6, 20,000 successful defense. It's straightforward lang. Debit, legal expense, credit, cash. 20. And pagdating ng 12/31/20 X6, same entry. 6,550. Wala namang nabago dun sa ating patent. Almost there. Illustration number 3. Patent with residual value. On January 120 X1, ABC Company incurred 100,000 in registering a patent. XYZ Incorporated, the third party, committed to purchase the patent 5 years before the end of the patent's legal life for 25,000. Requirement: record the journal entries for the transactions above. Debit, patent, credit, cash. For what? 100,000. So this is quite different kasi meron tayong residual value. Every year, debit amortization expense, credit accumulated amortization of how much? 100,000 at the end of the legal life daw, 25,000 yung kanyang value, divided by 5. Hindi. Sabi yung purchase the patent 5 years before the end of the legal life. So rather than 5, it's 20 minus 5. Kasi yung residual value 5 years before the legal life. So the useful life is only 15 years. So that's why 15 useful life ang gagamitin. Very tricky. So our annual amortization would be 75,000 divided by 15, 5,000. Final example. Okay. So change in useful life. On January 120 X1, ABC Company incurred 100,000 in registering a patent. It was initially estimated that the useful life of the asset is 20 years, equal to its legal life. However, on January 120 X6, ABC assessed the useful life of the patent was only 15 years starting on the date of registration. So ang totoong requirement niya, ang magkano yung amortization expense ng 20X6. Okay, not this journal entries. Okay. Yung amount lang naman mababago, debit amortization expense, credit, accumulated amortization. Okay. First step, update our carrying amount until January 1, 20X6. So, cost of 100,000, accumulated amortization of 20X1 to 20X5, 5 years. So that's 100,000 divided by 20 times 5. So that's 25,000. So our carrying amount at the start of 20X6 would be 75,000. We divide it by the remaining useful life of 10, and that would be our revised amortization expense starting on 20X6. Ayan. Bakit pala 10? Kasi ang kanyang useful life daw ay 15 years starting on the date of registration. Kaya kung yung kanyang total life ay 15 years, 5 years have passed, yung ating remaining useful life would be 10 years. So our revised amortization expense would be 7,500. So this is probably the most comprehensive one, ano? I think we have one more comprehensive discussion, which is our computer software But after that, it's just another organizational cost na 1 page lang, kaya mabilis lang. So thank you everyone for paying attention. I hope that you are still learning as much as you've learned from the first video. See you in our next video. Bye-bye.